Be honest with me, am I even funny? Like, should I be doing this? Should is this the right career for me? Because I don't know. I think I should just like I think I should just quit comedy because this fucking sucks. And I was being dead serious.
Mm.
Like,
Hi, I'm Zach Newmark, and this is Dam Yankee. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts for all the coolest interviews with the best performers based here in the Netherlands and those traveling through the country. Like this man sitting to my left, Neema Naz. He's a Canadian Iranian stand-up comedian who's been in the business for about 10 years after dropping out of his university kinesiology program because he discovered how awesome comedy was. He's a very cool guy, and he is on his My A Stupid Life tour, which he brought 12 tour dates to Europe in 12 different cities in 1 month, which is pretty amazing. I describe it as an incredibly grueling schedule, but he seems to love it. Neema Naz, thank you so much for joining us. I couldn't be happier. This is great.
thanks for what an introduction. It's grueling to me, but he seems to love it.
I mean, you do. You know, traveling for work, it's never been my bag. It's never been something I've liked doing. But I mean, you showed up this morning. You're completely full of energy and fresh. I'm amazed, actually, after a month of traveling with family, no less.
Yeah,
that you're doing great.
I mean, great is a big use of the word. No, I mean, obviously, joking aside, it's obviously the most fun experience, and I do love the traveling and everything. But yeah, it's very tiring at times. That's why it's really important to kind of focus on like the habits and the, you stay on routine and schedule as much as you can on the road, which is not easy. But at the end of the day, I'm here for a reason, and there's a goal, and that's what kind of keeps me going.
So you've been doing this for a while. So tell me a little bit about this show in particular. And, for fans who have been following your career, obviously they know the impressions work that you do, the accents that you do, jokes that you do about your sort of multicultural life in Toronto. But, where are you taking fans on this show?
So, yeah, my tour set right now is a lot about culture in general, but specifically about my own culture, being Persian, Iranian, whatever you want to call it. I like to say Persian. It sounds nicer, just in case. But yeah, it's a lot about cultural jokes about different cultures because that's how I was raised back home in Toronto, in Canada. As we were talking earlier, it's a melting pot of diversity. So my group of friends growing up was like the United Nations. It was like just expensive, corrupt, accomplished nothing. And so
it sounds like FIFA.
yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. And so that's why, the jokes I make, the accents I do, the impressions I do is very multicultural. And, sometimes there might be flack online for it, but obviously my pure intentions are to just like bring light and represent for other cultures, which is what my stand-up is about too. And yeah, it's just a lot about my life, my mom, my dad, a lot of jokes about them, family. And overall, just good energy and good vibes. And yeah,
I saw an interview with you from a few years ago where you were asked specifically about cancel culture. And at that time, cancel culture was even more, related to what people were saying on stage, what their background and their personal history was. Now, cancel culture seems to be meaning just almost like anything that I disagree with, you shouldn't be allowed to say. So I'm wondering, 3 years ago, you didn't seem particularly concerned about cancel culture, that you're just kind of you and who you are. How has your thoughts on that, has that developed or changed over time?
No, I still stand with the same opinion and the same take. I believe that, I mean, in a joking way, I feel like I'm uncancelable. But the real answer is, like I said earlier, my pure intention is just to make jokes and bring light to darker topics in this world, and that's it. Like, I'm not here to intentionally put anyone down or be offensive. It might come off as offensive to some people, but once again, you can't please everyone, and that's my thought process every day when I make jokes, when I make videos, when I do jokes on stage. In my head, I'm not being like, all right, like, how can I push the boundary? How can I offend this person or this group of people? In my head, I'm like, all right, how can I make someone laugh? So like right there, that already cancels out literally all the people who try to say, oh, you can't say that, or you should be canceled for this, you know? So I just don't see it that way.
Um, are you kind of the same guy on stage that you are in real life, would you say? Or
Oh
are you,
yeah,
or
yeah.
is your stage persona kind of a different version of who you are?
Yeah, I'm the same person, but yeah, it's a little bit a different version because it's a performance. At the end of the day, it's still like you got to like bring the energy and the, the the facial expressions. Like all those things matter, obviously. But yeah, I'm pretty much myself. Like, even on camera, online, on stage, off camera, I'm pretty much the same person every time. So obviously, it's a little bit more exaggerated when you're actually acting or performing. But yeah, it's all at the core. I'm always myself.
And, is that maybe where you're able to sort of get around the cancel culture argument is because in real life and sitting down talking to you, you're not like a punching down kind of guy.
Mhm.
And on stage, you're not really a punching down kind of guy. So is that why you are able to make the jokes that you make? Because the jokes that you make, 5 years ago, even a lot of cultures might have been offended by some of the lines that you do.
Yeah. Well, the funny part is that even 5 years ago, or now, or 20 years ago, I feel like because I was raised with so many different ethnic groups of people, like some of my best friends are Indian, Sri Lankan, Arab, white, like the list goes on. I am a man of culture. I like to think I'm a man of culture because, once again, when you're in Toronto, when you're in Canada, you're like born into it. I've been to these people's houses. I've had their food. I've listened to their parents speak in their language. I've talked to their parents. I've listened to their music. The list goes on. And so, because I feel like I know the culture so well and I'm accurate, that's what matters. That's the key factor, is that you're accurate. If you're accurate and you're trying to be funny about a certain culture, like what are you gonna say about that? It's if it's true and the actual people from that background are laughing too, then what are we gonna talk about? And so that's the way I see it. I think the more accurate you are, the less offended that group of people can get, and that's what I try to strive for.
Now, that aspect you said comes kind of out of your background and growing up in Toronto. I'm also curious. I've seen some of the names that you've mentioned as comedic influences, like Russell Peters.
Yeah.
Why him, and what are some other comedians that are kind of influential for you?
I think Russell Peters is the voice for a lot of kids like me who come from ethnic backgrounds and immigrant parents, growing up in Canada specifically, but just worldwide, because he was the first brown guy to go on stage and do a Chinese accent, which is insane. Like, if you think about it objectively, you're like, that's fucked up. But it's so accurate and it's so true. Even the Asians, they love it, because it's like, oh yeah, it's not. They don't think, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. They're thinking, oh man, like there's a voice for us. There's a voice for our people, and that's immediately how I saw it when I was a kid too. When I was watching Russell, and so he was a big influence on me for that, and he molded my humor. He's the reason why my sense of humor is the way it is because I lived off that and I grew up on that, and so that's why he was such a big comedic idol for me. And obviously, fast forward to my career now, I've been lucky to even be able to open for him and become friends with him now. And yeah, that's why he was definitely number one for me. And then other people, Kevin Hart is a big one for me, mostly as an entity, like as an empire, because he's not just a comedian, he's an actor, he's a producer, he has a radio show, like he has a run club, like he does everything. And so he's a business mogul, and that's what I really love about Kevin Hart. He inspires me in that way a lot. And Andrew Schultz is right now one of my favorite comedians too. I feel like my style is a little bit kind of like his and Russell's at the same time in a way. So I'm a lover of comedy, a lover of people and culture, and it's great.
The Kevin Hart mention is particularly interesting, I think, also because at his core, obviously he's a comedian and also very much an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen you talk about building yourself up from nothing, building this up from nothing as a business, and all the sacrifices that you make along the lines doing that. Also inspired by Kobe Bryant, I've heard you say before as well. So from that perspective, also as an entrepreneur, I'm curious, how you're able to make these personal sacrifices to do this.
Well, I feel like when the clearer you are on where you're heading, the easier it is to make the justification to sacrifice something,
Mm.
whether that be going out, partying, seeing your friends, seeing your family. Like, whenever you think, oh, is this going to take away from me reaching my goal? It's the easiest decision to make. I'm like, yeah, I should probably not do this or that. And it's much better because then I thank myself later and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I sacrificed is for this. And when you actually start to see the results, that's when you realize the sacrifice does pay off.
What were the sacrifices that were hardest for you to contend with as you were building up your career?
Honestly, yeah, going out with my friends, like with the boys, everyone loves to go out with the boys, but at some point, that's one of the biggest things is not seeing your friends or kind of losing touch, to be honest. And there's many moments where I felt like I didn't even have my friends anymore because I was so alone and doing my own thing and trying to build my career and myself. But at the same time, the friends I do have, they all understood why I was doing it, and that I feel like I'm very lucky in that way. But that's one of the biggest things is your friends and your family, like not seeing my family a lot, and or like a dating life. I didn't have a dating life,
Mhm.
like most people in their 20s, like going out partying, like hanging out with girls, like stuff like that. Like I didn't do any of that, and I still don't. Like I still haven't. It's just it's more so if it comes to me naturally, then like I'll entertain it. But for the most part, I had to sacrifice all those things that any 20-year-old thrives in when they're growing up. And so um, I think those are the biggest things.
And who did you turn to then in those? Because you must have had moments where you were thinking, should I be doing this? Is this what I want to be doing with my life? Am I happy? You do a great set on stage, and then you come back or you come to a hotel room at night and you're by yourself. So who did you turn to during those times, especially during those first 6 or 7 years when you were really getting off the ground?
Well, those first 6 to 7 years, I wasn't touring at all yet. I was mostly local in the city of Toronto, but also all over Canada. I would like travel on a bus, on a shitty bus. I would do these group vans. You pay $20, you get into a van, some random Arab dude's van, in the middle of like a local neighborhood with 6 other immigrants. Like I'm a refugee coming from Iran, like just to go do a 5-minute set at a club. That's 6-hour drive away. I would do that constantly. And I would crash on other comics' couches, which is if you're not in this world, it's the worst thing ever. But those are all sacrifices too, is not paying for a train or like paying for a hotel. Like I didn't do any of those things because I wanted to save money, and also I was broke, so I couldn't even afford it anyway. But it's like that's what it takes. I was sleeping on the floor many times in a comic's house that they've never even mopped once or swept the floor. There's bugs, you know what I'm saying? And so I would do shit like that, and the only thing that would keep me going is honestly, a lot of it was for me to prove to myself that I can do it. But there's a small part of me that wanted to represent, and I had this pride of making it and being successful for my parents and my family because of what they had to go through just to get to Canada. They're
Mhm.
refugees coming from Iran after the revolution happened, and it was tough for them. They're at my age now. They had to come to Canada, which is insane. Like I'd be destroyed if I had to do that. Leave my whole life and never go back to a foreign country and restart, right?
With fingers crossed and just hope that it
Hope,
works out, right?
blind hope, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like my dad was handicapped, like he is handicapped, but he had one leg coming to Canada. He had to drive taxis and he had to redo his engineering master's degree to become an engineer in Canada because he was back home. And then like people would run out on his taxis and he has one leg. You can't catch them. And so stories like that always replayed in my head as I was traveling, doing these weird white van trips to go do 5-minute sets, and they would keep replaying in my head, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I can't complain. Like look at what they had to go through. My mom had to work 3-4 different jobs in restaurants and like cook catering companies. Like it was just madness raising 2 kids. So yeah, that's the one of the main things that kept me going throughout the whole thing when I was alone in those first few years until my brother came along, obviously.
Well, and then that's kind of what I'm curious about also, because, the personal side, as your career is growing, you said you weren't dating. You didn't really have a girlfriend in your life to speak of, except, occasionally. I know you've got bits here and there about, different women that you were dating, but,
right.
Without kind of having a stable relationship, you weren't really maintaining contact with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so when your career is like actually picking up and growing and you're touring and you start your first headlining tour, how does your brother get into the mix? Because your brother kind of works as your manager now.
Yeah, he is my manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it got to, well, the thing is, it was actually just before, it was just before the pandemic hit. I was about 5 years in at the time. It was like mid 2019. I was working a bunch of part-time jobs just in the downtown core, and at that exact time, I was living in a condo downtown, and I couldn't really afford to pay for it. It was really all I was doing was working part-time jobs just to make money so I can eat more food and just live on my own. But then and then rinse and repeat. I wasn't making money to do more things, and I was like occasionally doing stand-up sets here and there in the city, and kind of making YouTube videos. I was kind of lost in that 1 year. And at the same time that was happening, where I felt like I was kind of doubting it, and I was like starting to lose it. My brother went through a very tough time in his life, in his personal life, with a relationship that ended abruptly, and he ended up moving back home to my parents' house, and he seeked me to go back home to kind of help him in his mental health, because he was just kind of destroyed. And he was like, how about you just quit your jobs, come back home, be with me, because I need you, and also you can save some money and start making content while you're at home, while you can occasionally still do stand up. And that's when everything changed, because I was already making YouTube videos, but I wasn't making content for socials, which was starting to pick up slowly at the time, 2019. As soon as I start to make content online on Instagram and TikTok, that's when my videos start to blow up right away, actually. And I think because of the experience I had on stage and all the YouTube videos I've made in the past 5 years, every video tanked. It was just garbage, and I was still trying to find my voice. By that point, exactly the timing fit where finally kind of knew what I liked and what I wanted to do online, and that's when my videos start to hit, and that's when we start to work more together from there. And so
you have mentioned before, that even though you kind of dropped out of university and you had this program that you were good in school, but you hated, kinesiology, or you weren't very interested in it. What was it to your parents, you dropping out of university? Like you said, they worked very hard to kind of build up this life for you and your brother. I know you've talked about the support that you've had from your parents in general, but was there that moment where, you really kind of had to convince them of it?
Yeah, I don't think I ever had to fully convince them, as in I need their approval. I needed to more so show them that this was the right decision for me along the way, just to reassure them that everything's going to be okay. It was more so just reassuring them after I made the decision, because I dropped out without even telling them. And they're obviously devastated at the time. They're like, what? What do you mean? My dad was like, I already paid for 1 year of university. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I can't do it. And my mom was crying. She's like, oh my God, like, how are you going to make money? Like, like she was like losing it. You're going to work at McDonald's, right? I'm like, no, like, don't worry. I don't have to work at McDonald's. I'll figure it out. And that was the beginning of the story for me. It was kind of like, I just had this drive. I was like, I feel like I'm meant to prove a point to, I don't know to who, but I right off the bat, I felt like I had to do it. I felt it in me. I was like, I have to do this. And then they saw how convinced I was and how much conviction I had for what I wanted to do, that they were like, all right, well, we're not going to change this kid's mind. might as well just let him do his thing. But you know, my dad did tell me, he's like, well, as long as you're gonna do it, make sure you do it 100%. And to this day, when I feel like I'm doubting my career or myself, I do think back to those words, and that's what kind of continues my drive again. You know,
what at this point though? What are those moments that you doubt yourself in your career? I mean,
yeah,
you know, I think you're pretty clearly in an upward trajectory. So what what are these moments that you have?
I guess it comes down to sometimes. I don't know. I mean, as a comedian, as an artist in general, you have this, you know, imposter syndrome in some shape, way, or form. Obviously, I don't have a severe form of it. It's just sometimes it'll come and go. It'll creep in at times where I feel like, oh, maybe like I didn't crush a show of mine as much as I wanted to, and like some of the lines that I knew or I thought always worked, they didn't. This one show. Now I'm like, oh shit, like am I really like, is it just not funny, or are people giving me sympathy laughs like this whole time? What if I'm not as funny as I've been, you know, feeling just based off the shows I've been doing? And so, you know, when I feel that, that's when I start to think, oh man, like, I don't know. I start to panic a little bit, but then it's just another set. I always come back to the other way around, and I'm like, well, it's just another set. It's just another show. Maybe these people actually did enjoy it. They just didn't laugh as hard as the other show because maybe that's just how they are. Or like some people don't have stand-up etiquette. Audience, they're like, I don't even know what to laugh at, like because it's their first time, which is very true on our shows. On my tour shows, a lot of the audience, like my fans who come, it's their first timers at a comedy show. So sometimes they're not like primed and you know. Experienced as an audience in a stand-up show to like laugh at the punchlines or like the setups, right? So there's just so many factors involved, but overall at the end of the day, I'm like, well, one way or another, I'm doing this or nothing. So
Right.
it always comes back to that. It always comes like, all right, like I'm shit, I suck, that was terrible, maybe I'm not funny, but then I'm like, yeah, but if I don't do this, I'm fucked. So I better figure it out.
I mean, your show on September 26th at Boom Chicago in Amsterdam is going to be your first in the Netherlands on stage. It's not your first time here, but has anybody warned you about the stereotypes of Dutch audiences?
A little bit. I mean, I performed in Sweden, in Stockholm, Sweden, and I was always warned like, well, Swedish people are very reserved and quiet and introverted, and they don't even laugh throughout the whole show, but at the end they'll give you a standing ovation, which is kind of true.
Right.
But honestly, I felt the love heavily in Stockholm and many other parts of Europe. And yeah, I've heard obviously Dutch audiences are pretty similar, I guess. Right?
Yeah, where you know, the stereotype about Dutch audiences is they'll think about your jokes as you're making them and take them in, and then they'll come up to you at the bar afterwards and tell you it's fantastic, but you know, won't make a sound during the show. Yeah.
I mean, that's actually very typical of Australia too, because I lived there for a year and I was doing a lot of shows there. I've never bombed so hard in my life in Australia this past year, working on this new tour set I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
The polished set I have now, I had to eat shit hundreds of times in Australia for. Obviously, naturally, when you're building a set, you're going to eat shit anyway. But it was 10 times worse in Australia because it's a different culture from mine.
Mm-hmm. I'm
from Canada. Maybe the humor there is different, which it is a little bit. But also, the audiences are very different from Canada, too, in Australia. They're way more, not that they're reserved, they're not as easily impressed. So they're not going to give you the rolling laughs you hear in the States, for example. Mm-hmm. When I go to the US, you feel like you're the king of the world based off one small joke.
Right.
You could say one line and people are already like howling over, right? They're keeling over. In Australia, you could have the best joke and they're like, haha, next. And so I experienced that a lot in Australia, and it's similar to what you said about the Dutch audiences. Like 40 minutes straight, I feel like I'm bombing, just eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Silence. At the end of the show, 10 different people, mate, that was a fucking funny show, bro. Mate, sick show, funniest show. I'm like, what do you mean? Where were you the 40 minutes? We were in this venue right now.
Right.
So it's just it's so nice to be able to experience that and learn how to adapt to different audiences in different parts of the world. And so hearing this about the Dutch audiences, before it would scare me because thinking like, when you're coming from Canada where people actually are more forgiving and they give you laughs more
And
often.
also a stand-up country as well, a
Yeah,
country that
yeah.
has stand-up. And
For sure.
Yeah.
Not as much as the US, but it's still new and it's growing. But yeah, in other parts of the world, it's quite different, and they're not as forgiving, or maybe it's not a part of their culture to be laughing out loud, and they're more polite. It just depends on where you are. And so, like I said before, earlier in my career, when I'm less experienced, I'd feel more frightened by it.
Mhm.
But now with more experience and touring around and meeting new cultures and new people around the world, I'm actually more looking forward to it, because in my head, I see it as a challenge, not as a threat.
Did that sort of 1 year of constant bombing
Oh,
in
yeah.
Australia, did that make My A Stupid Life a better show?
Oh, way better.
Yeah.
As a comedian, as a human being, it made me a way better comic overall, because the amount of stage time I got was so invaluable. Like I counted, in the 10 months I was there, I had 650 sets on stage.
Wow.
Total.
Seriously?
650.
Wow.
Just over that. I was going off. Like I've never in my life, in my career, done that many in like 1 to 2, maybe 3 years.
Wow.
So it was
I mean, that's
I
pretty
learned a lot.
I mean, that's pretty amazing, because
Yeah.
that's
It's a
an
lot.
average of 2 a night for the full
Yeah,
year,
pretty
no
much.
vacations and
No.
no days off.
That was a sacrifice. Living in Australia, as nice as a country it is and feels like you're on vacation, every night I was out there like nonstop to try to build this set, and like, we were talking about sacrifice. Like, that's what it takes to build a good set, and I feel like it could always be better, but you want to be really great, you got to like literally do stuff like that.
Is what's the impact of that year on your imposter syndrome then?
I actually think it helped a lot, because it made me realize, one, it's not that serious, because you actually need to bomb a lot, and it's actually good to bomb a lot more than you think, because one, you get way more comfortable on stage,
Mhm.
and so next time, like, you do go on stage like afterwards and you feel like you're doing okay, you're not really phased by that. You're not really being affected by it. You're more so like, all right, okay, yeah, you're not gonna laugh, all right, let me go harder now, rather than, oh shit, like I'm trembling. It just changes your mindset more, which is what I learned a lot. That's what it taught me a lot.
Embracing the bomb.
Embracing the bomb, being comfortable on stage, being more yourself. And when you're doing crowd work, you're not trying to like perform. You're more so just curious, and that's when the funny comes out, when you're being real,
Mhm.
not when you're trying to be funny, especially with crowd work, right? And so that's why I feel like my crowd work has immensely gotten better as well, because of that reason. Just being on stage so much, learning about cultures and people, and just continually asking questions
Mhm.
and learning about people. I feel like that helps a lot with your knowledge on stage.
And also with these European shows that you're doing, where does the crowd work come into play with those? I mean, you're performing in a lot of cities where, English is maybe the third or fourth
Mhm.
language, not necessarily even the second.
Yeah.
When you're performing in Amsterdam, and for an international audience, a lot of times it's going to be a third or a fourth language as
Yeah.
well. So where does the crowd work come into play then?
I think actually I've been quite surprised with the audiences in Europe. Way different than I thought it would be. They're way better than I thought it would be. Not that like, it wouldn't be good. It's just they understand me way more than I thought. And obviously, I've slowed down my speech as I'm on stage, because,
Mhm.
like you said, it's a third, fourth language for some people. But honestly, I've the feedback I've gotten has been amazing. It's been exceptional, to be honest, because it actually made me realize how well educated a lot of people in other parts of the world are, especially with social media. I feel like that's actually been a huge positive, is they're watching Canadian or American shows and movies and social media even, right? And so they're kind of learning at a more rapid rate than 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's why I feel like it's not that hard for them to understand what I'm talking about on stage, and they actually can relate pretty well. And we're more connected as human beings more than we think,
Mhm.
all around the world. And so the crowd work has been amazing. And if they can understand me in a basic level, my crowd work isn't like, I'm not a PhD literature professor. You know what I'm saying? Like my vocabulary isn't that wide, and so it's pretty simple for them to understand, and it becomes really funny. Even if they do have an accent or they misunderstand what I said, that itself is funny. That's what the whole point of the crowd work is. Like they say something, I mishear it, or vice versa, or it's just yeah.
Do they have the same fundamental understanding of the cultural jokes that you make as well?
Yes and no. That's the other part that has been a new challenge for me, is learning how to adapt to where I am. Because there are certain cities I've gone to where they don't have a lot of Sri Lankans, or they don't have a lot of Jamaicans or at all. They don't know much about Africans. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I do the research a lot before I go into the city to know, all right, like maybe I'll take this joke out or take this line out because this is not going to make sense to them, or maybe swap it with this instead, So that's been a big part of my learning too, especially when I was in Australia too. A big part of my learning was knowing, when to kind of put in certain jokes into a certain audience based off what they look like sometimes, or just a vibe, a feeling I have about what they might like or what they might not like. And yeah, it's been a good practice.
And then, something else that I'm also so interested by is the, degree of perseverance that you kind of have to go out, again, on the Australia, your time in Australia, just to keep going out and bombing. I mean, there's a degree of perseverance that has to be there. And it really reminds me of that sort of entrepreneur spirit, more so than an artist spirit, in a way, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there was actually a moment near the end of our trip. It was just me and my brother living in Australia together. And there was a moment at the end of our trip where I came home. I was doing a lot of these fringe festivals that they have in Australia. This one was in September of 2 years ago. That's crazy. 2 years ago at this point. Sorry, it was last year, where it's 30 days straight of shows,
right?
Comedy, music, like everything, right? I was obviously doing the comedy ones, and pretty much Monday to Wednesday, it's like 1 to 2 sets you do some of these shows. But then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's like tons of shows you can do, and I was doing like on average 4 to 6 sets a night for those 3 nights in a row. In this month, when I was doing these sets, trying to develop this material, and at that point, I've already done like hundreds of from the other cities, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide, right? I thought I had a good core of material by that point after like 9 months. Going into that 9th month and doing all these sets in Sydney, that was the worst bombing I was doing with the material I already kind of worked on in the past 9 months that I thought was working, and that was starting to develop into the tour set it is now. And I remember every single night I would just be like, oh man, like what is going on? Like it kept getting worse and worse, and I was deflated. And I would come home. I remember one night I came home after bombing 4 straight sets in a row, and I'm not just doing 5 minutes. I'm doing 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? It's draining mentally, physically. Yeah. It's exhausting. You're like, shit, man, what am I doing wrong? How is this not working? One of the nights I came home to my brother, and he's like, how was it? I was like, man, like honestly, like, like be honest with me. Like, am I even funny? Am I like, should I be doing this? Is this the right career for me? Because I don't know. I think I should just like, I think I should just quit comedy because this fucking sucks. And I was being dead serious, like maybe a little bit light joking, but I was like, man, like I don't understand. How is this not working? How am I eating it so much on stage right now? But that's pretty much the extent of where I go with it. I never drag on, or I don't let that feeling linger.
I got to know what your brother said to you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what pulled you out of that moment? Because that's, after, this right now, this week we're talking about is your 10-year anniversary in comedy. So that means that, just over 9 years into doing this, you hit this rut where you were like, okay, I'm done. What, how did you pull out of that, or how did your brother help pull you out of that?
As soon as I said all the things I just said to him, he just laughed and he's like, yeah, well, it is what it is. Get back after it tomorrow. And I was like, fuck, all right. And that's it. Like, it's simple as that, you know? And that's why I said I don't let it linger. Because because what I've learned a lot throughout my years as a human being in general, just through meditation and like, you know, reading some certain books that have helped me a lot with my mindset. Mindset by Carol Dweck, by the way, great book. I've learned that just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true. It's a big motto for me. You know, there's so many thoughts that come into your brain constantly. If you start to like believe all of them, you're not going to get anywhere. Right. And so, yeah, it's good to vent sometimes, let it out, express how you feel, but then, you know, take it for what it is and learn from it and then keep moving. And that's my whole thing, is always just keep moving. Like, you can feel like shit and feel like you're terrible, but it doesn't matter. No one's here to save you.
When your brother Omid came on board and you guys started working together on social media content, that was before the pandemic, just before. So was there a kind of moment that you had a breakout success? Because now you've got something like between TikTok and Instagram together, 1.2 million followers at this point.
Yeah. I think when my brother started to work with me and he came on board to kind of help manage me, because at first, when a couple of my videos start to kind of pop off and I was like, you know, getting like 10, 20, 30, 40,000 views, which is a lot at the time relatively. That's when I started to get some emails coming in too. And I was like, I always went to my brother like, hey, what do you think? What do you think I should say? Should I write this? And after a while, he was like, you know what? How about you just let me handle the emails? You just keep posting the content. But, you know, at the time I was only doing like 1 a week, 2 a week. And then every few weeks, couple months, my brother would be like, all right, like, you've done 2 weeks, bump it up to 3 a week now. Now do 4 a week. And then it got to a point after like 8 months, pretty much actually when the pandemic hit. He's like, all right, well, we're home now. There's nothing else we could do. Start doing daily content. That's when everything started to take off for me. Like, I was already like building a little bit of buzz for those 8 months leading up to the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, every day I was like hammering people with like really good stuff too, because I had more time to think about it. You know, I put more effort into the videos, and obviously daily content at the time, it was really being rewarded on Instagram and TikTok. And that's when I start to really blow up, and the initial phase of blowing up for me. And
was there one particular video or one particular moment?
Yeah. There's the one style of video I did that really blew up was how to say it's hot in the GTA. So GTA is a Greater Toronto area, which is all the suburbs of Toronto. And the beauty of Toronto, like I said earlier, is it's such a melting pot. Every borough has a different type of character / accent of people. And everyone who lives there knows. And even in Canada, you would know. Maybe not other parts of the world, but even it still could be funny because just based off the accents I'm doing. And that's the first one that really blew up for me. I remember it was like really getting buzz. It got picked up on the biggest social media channel in Toronto, and they had already like 1 million followers. And so it just kind of went viral within the city, within the country. And from there, that's when the buzz started to create. And yeah, it was just, I was hitting a momentum at that time for a few months.
And what, so what did that mean for you and the shows that you were doing after, the pandemic started to ease off and lockdowns eased off and you were able to get back on stage? What were your crowds like beforehand and what were they like afterwards?
Well, beforehand, there was no crowd because I didn't even have any following pretty much before. But the beauty of the pandemic was I had built so much of a following in that year or two before I went back on stage. I went from 0 to like literally 60 to 70,000 followers within those first year and a half.
Wow.
So the first time I went on stage and I posted about a show, I had like 10, 15 fans come to the show. It wasn't my own show. It was another person's show. And I was like, oh shit, I have fans. And so I didn't realize it, right? Because you're at home the whole time. But when you start to go out and you start getting recognized too, that's when things started to change. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
When did you start to make this, mental turnaround?
This was pretty much like 2021. It was like just a bit after pandemic started to happen, and I was
Mhm.
at home a lot with my brother. I was pumping out content like a machine. That's when I started to build a following. That's at the same time I was trying to learn about high performance and how to become a better comedian or a better human to help power my career.
Did that affect your material at all?
In what way?
Well, I would say because I watched obviously a bunch of your material in the run up to speaking with you,
Mhm.
and I watched a set that you did in I want to say 2022, and I would say possibly your comedy 4 years ago or 3 years
Yeah.
ago was a little bit more self-deprecating
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
than your comedy now.
100%.
Is that the result of working on yourself?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, 100%. Because the idea I had in my mind about material or doing stand-up bits for me when I first started out in the first few years, the easiest thing to make jokes about is yourself off the bat
Hmm.
when you're an amateur. Self-deprecation. It's the easiest thing. Um, and to a certain extent, though, after a while, it becomes kind of hacky. And that's what that last set you're talking about, my first special I had, 2022, a lot of it was self-deprecation. And like I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not who I am now.
Hmm.
I'm way better as a comedian and as a human being compared to that, obviously. And as you should, you should be evolving and growing, right? But it's funny because at that time I thought, oh man, this is hilarious. This is funny. This is so good. It's gonna hit, like whatever.
And you have a lot of funny bits in it. I mean,
There are, yeah.
I'm not putting down the
No,
special
no.
at all. I mean, I think it's very clear it's a step in your career.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to put it out, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to put out because like that set I had was from the first 7 years of my career.
Hmm.
So obviously my mind has grown from those first 7 years. So naturally my sets are going to be way different now.
Right.
It's still who I am at
Well,
the core.
and you've had
my
4 more
personality.
years of practice on stage, and
That's it.
the equivalent of 3 years on
Literally.
stage in Australia.
Yeah.
In 1 year's time. So you've had a
Exactly.
lot more time.
Yeah.
But so the time on stage obviously makes a difference. But getting back to your work on yourself.
Mhm.
I'm really curious about that specifically, and
Yeah.
and how that's kind of affected your work as an artist.
Everyone always said like, yo, don't lose weight. You're going to lose your funny, right? I think I even said that in my set.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true, but I used to believe it before. That's why I felt like I had to do fat jokes or I had to do like self-deprecation because I thought, oh, well, if I do lose weight, how am I going to be funny? I've been fat my whole life. Like, that's why I'm funny. You start to attach your identity to it
Mm.
about being big and like unhealthy. But I'm like, well, if I'm not healthy, I can't even do the jokes in the first place. That's why I start to realize, right?
Right.
And so obviously it's still a big journey for me. Like it's not easy. Like I'm still overweight but obviously I'm much healthier on the inside than I was even 3 years ago. But now my whole perspective is, well, I'm not just gonna make fat jokes my rest of my life. Like how many can you do, right? And that's been the biggest challenge is learning how to go deeper and dive deeper into different things to joke about. That's still me.
Mhm.
That's not about self-deprecation, right? That's naturally how you evolve as a comedian, right? And so, in fact, it's actually made my comedy better because I'm more sharp on stage. I have more energy. I've learned a lot more. My knowledge is higher. My vocabulary is much wider, and I'm more
Not like
confident.
kinesiology.
No,
wide.
no, not kinesiology. No knowledge about that. I only know about radius and tibialis, and that's it.
That's already two better than
That's
me.
already, yeah. And so, in fact, it's actually made me more efficient as a comedian. It's not just about the performance either. It's about before and after. It's about how am I preparing for my set? How am I writing? Am I, spending time on my brain, on myself, breathing, like preparing myself. Not just like there's some certain comedians I grew up with and still to this day, before they go on stage, they smoke weed, they drink, they have it as a crutch, right? And that's
Mhm.
something I never did, luckily, when I was starting out. And I'm super grateful for that because otherwise it's hard to get out of that.
Right.
And so I think taking care of my health has helped me develop better as a comedian because of all those reasons I just listed. And I'll have a longer shelf life I think I'll have more longevity in my career.
It's really interesting because I sort of feel like over the last, since really along the lines of when you started working on yourself, 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this is the first time that comedians ever really have talked openly about bettering themselves or improving themselves and
Mhm.
not holding on to what they thought was their edge. Like Bill Burr
Yeah.
has talked about releasing a lot of his anger and trying not to be that angry guy anymore. Tom Papa talks about, if he adds an extra set, wanting to do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 in the afternoon instead of wanting to do a set at 11 o'clock at night. With us, we did an interview with Ria Lina. She's a British comedian who is based here. She talks a lot about her life as a mother and how hard it is for women to kind of balance, being a caregiver to their children, but also, the reality that comes along with performing stand-up or performing on TV shows.
Yeah.
And, where did that sort of moment hit you that, made you want to start working on yourself and start bettering yourself?
Well, there's many moments, but one particular moment stood out that kind of changed the whole course of how I operated just in my daily life. I was in New York and I had a show. Sorry, I just finished my show in New York. It was my first ever show I did in New York, and I was eating like shit. I wasn't working out, exercising, walking, nothing. I was doing nothing to help my body physically, mentally. I was just like, getting up, putting my clothes on, going to the show, doing the performance, and leaving, whatever, eating, overeating, whatever. And I'm sleeping in my uncle's place in Manhattan, and it was my day off before we headed to Philly, the next city, to perform my next show. And I remember it was like a Sunday morning. We're like, all right, we're gonna wake up, go get some coffee, walk around a little bit. I was like, cool. As I go to change and put my pants on, I put my leg up to go into one of the sleeves of the pants, and I pulled my back and my leg so hard. There's nerve pains shooting down my leg so hard. I couldn't move for 5 days straight, which was terrible. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And it sucked because when I start to heal and I could actually get up and like walk a little bit, the next morning or like that day, I had to go to Philly to perform. And luckily I had a few days off before Philadelphia to
just try to recover.
Just to recover, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like going to Philly and I'm like limping and I have to go on stage and like I'm actually limping and I have to hide it. And I did the show, was fine, whatever, but it was like I was like suffering. It was tough. And then I had to travel. You have to travel. You have to go to the trains. You have to, you have luggage. It's heavy. You're heavy as a person. It's uncomfortable. And I was like slugging around the next few weeks, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I had that shooting pain in my leg for 3 months after. Like it was hard to walk, And so all of that happened because I wasn't taking care of myself physically. I was eating like shit. I was eating bad foods that I shouldn't be eating, and I'm heavy, I'm not stretching. I'm tight all over my body, my hips, everything. And that was a big wake-up call for me to be like, all right, well, maybe being fat should not equate to me being funny. Maybe I should take care of myself so I can continue doing the thing I actually love doing. Because otherwise, I won't be able to. If I continue like this, I'm at the age of 27 at the time. Yeah, 27, 28. I'm like, this is too young for me to like be going through this. I'm not 50 or 60 even.
Because already when you had, started when you were around 18, 19 years old,
19,
at that point you were weighing something like 380 or 400 pounds, you said, right?
I was 365-ish. It got really bad, after the first couple of years. And then I shed a little bit, and then I got a little bit less fat, like 20 pounds less, but still not good enough. But now I'm a little bit lighter even from then, but the difference is like, I'll stay away from gluten or, carbs typically, I try to intermittent fasting I started to do helped me a lot. Just getting active, not even like attaching myself to like, oh, you have to gym 5 days a week, because that's unrealistic. From going from nothing to 5 days a week. Instead, the way I frame it in my head is, all right, even if you don't lift weights every day, at least move your body somehow, even if it's stretching or going for a walk, whatever, like jog, I don't know, walking backwards, whatever it is, do something. And so that's been the different frame of mindset I've had that's helped me with longevity since. And I think that's the right way to go about it now.
Are you one of these guys that's going to be looking at Ozempic?
No.
Are you thinking about that
Hell
to
no.
pull you down more?
Hell no. I will never do that shit. I'll tell you that right now. You hear me? Looking right in the camera. Au natural, baby. That's it. I don't believe in anything else. Au natural. All right. No, I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it, but I never really believed in pharmaceutical stuff to help you improve or enhance your health. I know it's like a too broad of a sentence, but especially with weight loss, it's gotta be natural. I don't know. I just can't. The idea of it, I can't get around.
Do you go to therapy?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting when you were telling that story about, breaking down for a moment and talking to your brother and asking, am I funny? Even just a year ago.
Yeah.
And he gave you kind of that typical guy answer.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, well, you're just in it now. You've got no,
keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And then you were like, well, I guess I'll keep going, and then bury that little bit deep down. I mean, that's like the typical man
100%
man reaction. Does that come out in therapy, or does that kind of stay with you down there until one day it kind of bubbles up?
No. Yeah, no, it's definitely a very guy thing for sure. But I'm very open about it, and I still talk about it freely. I don't ever like push stuff down like long term, just in bits and pieces, But I think a lot of guys typically they'll keep bottle things in and then not do anything about it. I'll like bottle it in for like momentarily for a day or two, but I'll end up talking about it eventually with someone or therapy, my brother,
or podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Spill all my secrets out on this podcast. But I think the main thing that kind of gets you out of a funk is to just be proactive. Is no matter how you're feeling, just be proactive, take action. That's the number one thing that's helped me a lot. Is even if you feel like you can't, just do it. It sounds cliche, just do it, but it's like if not, Tony Robbins, if nothing changes, nothing changes, and I truly believe that. Right? It's like, well, you had to do something different if it's not working the way it is now.
Right.
There's obviously something not working, so try something else. And so that's my brother and I's method of thinking is like that.
So it's this sort of entrepreneur mindset.
It is. It's a very
of pivoting, right?
It's a very high performance kind of mindset. Yeah, it's very self-help type of mindset, which is not inherently a bad thing. It's just there's nuance. But
and your girlfriend, how long have you guys been together?
It's very new. It's been like 5 months.
And she's with you on this part of your tour. At least.
This part they just came yesterday, and for this week in Berlin too. Yeah, just
you said they should be clear. It's
sorry.
It's your girlfriend and your brother's girrment who came out.
Yeah,
You're not with two girlfriends.
I'm not. I'm also I don't use pronouns like that. All right, nothing against them, but no. But no, it's cool. It's cool to be able to travel and
But has this this new relationship? What is what has that meant for your mental health also?
I mean, I feel like I don't think anyone is going to have a perfect relationship or even a perfect mindset. I don't think anything is I don't think there's a right time for anything. I think it just happens when it should happen. And in terms of my mental health, like in my head, all I know is a woman should be adding to your life, not taking away. And so every day when I think about it, I'm like, all right, like, is she adding to it or is she taking away? If the answer is yes or no, then that's how you make a decision, right? So, but yeah, so far it's been great. It's been amazing, and I mean, you just take it day by day, right? It's. I think you should live in the moment, but also think a little bit ahead. But once again, I don't know. Life is so short; and anything can happen. I'm always open to things, changing and adapting, and but yeah, I think just being present is very key.
What was it about Amsterdam that made them want to come out for the Amsterdam and then Berlin?
Just the timing, I think, because like, you know, maybe with work and stuff back home, it was like they could only make this week work. But also, I mean, like it's not the worst place to come.
No, it's a great city.
Great city, yeah.
Yeah.
Amsterdam is one of my favorite cities in Europe for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because you've been here before.
I have.
You told me before. Yeah.
I was here in 2017.
Yeah.
I also went to Berlin. Like
it is
after Amsterdam.
Why is that?
Last time too, and which is what I'm doing this time. And
I
was here in 2017.
City. Yeah.
I like the nature, like the river, the canal.
It is.
The bikes last time too. Makes the city look more full and like I was here in 2017.
It's a good city.
Vibe, good environment.
Yeah.
Big coffee culture. You know,
it is
coffee. Not
why is that?
Last time weed and mushrooms. Both are great. Like I was here in 2017.
City. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's just like a good environment, a good vibe, and which is why I've never had any problems with it. Like I was here in 2017. I'm excited to try comedy here.
Yeah.
So that maybe that'll change my mind. Culture. I'm hoping it does.
Why is that?
Last time too, and which is why. Like I was here in 2017.
City. Yeah. Yeah.
Big culture. You know.
It is. Why is that?
Last time too, and which is why. Like I was here in 2017.
City. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about moving here.
It is. Why is that?
I don't know why, but like I was here in 2017. There are just so many other places in mind that I would like to move to first before
it is
here.
Why is that?
But I mean, like, New York in 2017. It's obviously the hub for stand-up comedy and even content. Like first, whether I want to do content or comedy, that's the hub. You know, you got to be in the thick of it. Like, I always think you got to be in the thick of things. If you want to be a comedian, like you got to be amongst to move to first, like the best.
It is. Why is that?
So yeah, New York. I don't know. Like before LA, I was here in 2017. But things LA is just kind of sketchy now, and it's not. That's not what it used to be. Before.
It is. Why is that?
Like I was here in 2017. Of things, if you want to be
yeah,
I mean, there's not as much work, but
why is that?
It's still obviously a big place for comedy. There's like I was here in 2017 of things. If you want to obviously a lot of big famous names
to move to
first, dropping in.
It is.
It's a big comedy
why
culture still, but like, I was here in 2017 living of things. If you want to, it's not really that appealing.
Yeah,
you know, there's so many homeless. Always like dropping dirty.
It is.
Traffic is terrible. It takes you 2 hours. I was here in 2017, from one end of the city to the next.
Yeah,
and if you go at the wrong times, dropping in, you're fucked.
It is.
Late.
Why is that?
Or taxes are super high. I was here in 2017 now. You know, there's so many factors, and if you involve that kind of names are always dropping in.
It is.
Leaves a bad taste.
Why is that?
And so, I mean, New York is also.
Like,
I was here in 2017. That much different in terms of the crime, and if you and whatnot are always dropping in. At the end of the day, it's still.
Why is that?
The comedy is like, you know, peak. And like I was here in 2017. You're never gonna really escape it. Like you just have to pick one place and just go with it and just do your best.
Why is that?
Yeah, that too.
Like,
that's the easy
2017.
Yeah. And if you names are shoebox with it and just do your best, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's still a big grind too, and it's a big sacrifice, but like it's always gonna be that way, and I'm okay with that, knowing that it's not. I'm not just gonna, you know, just live in a mansion like right away. It's not, I don't even really care about that. I don't really want to live in a mansion. I just want to do what I love every day, not having to worry about like payments or credit card debt or like taking care of my family. It's all I care about. It's just if everyone's good, I'm good. I can eat good food whenever I want and take care of my health. I'm set, you know?
Your brother has been such an important part of your career and also your well-being.
Yeah.
You know, is New York somewhere where he would go?
Yeah. We both have definitely talked about New York a lot. It's one of my favorite cities to go and just be a part of. But Vegas is a big one for us too.
Really?
Vegas, yeah.
To live?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's no state tax.
Carrot Tap can't be on stage forever.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to take the reign. No, there's no state tax. It's safe. There's, you know, it sounds dumb, but the streets are wide in the suburbs. There's no traffic, which is it's coming from Toronto too. It's just like LA traffic. It's terrible, and it drives you nuts.
Right.
In Toronto, especially, we have one highway to get everywhere, which is insane. It's like, dude, build a bridge or something, or like an extra lane. Help me out here. It's just insane, and so. Vegas, it's so empty. It's like there's more space. You can get a house for 3 times less than paying for a shoebox condo in Toronto.
Right.
So I'm like, well, what the hell? And it's cheaper. It's more central to every other city in the States. If you want to fly somewhere, it's much easier. It's quicker. It's cheaper. Everyone flies into Vegas. There's always something happening. It's endless. And so I feel like it's a great place to live as like a home base. To, if I wanted to still do a road trip to California, I could do that and do shows and then come back. If I want to go to Miami, I could do the same thing. Wherever, Texas.
Do you ever give that sort of a thought of like being the resident comedian at a hotel, so residency life, or does touring still have a lot of appeal for you at this point?
I think you should always be touring, no matter what. In terms of being a resident in a hotel or like a casino, it depends where. If it's Vegas and it's like the MGM or like the Encore Theater, and you're a resident, or
I mean, it's hard to turn down.
I mean, of
sure.
course it is. It's so iconic, and the money's probably really good. I'm not sure exactly, but the thing is, you can't have it all though. I think if you're gonna be resident, like it takes away from a lot of stuff outside of that. Because I'm also not a stand-up comedian, just a stand-up comedian. I act as well, and I make content. So,
and the first job that you booked, for people who don't know, was The Boys.
Yeah.
And I mean, just an outstanding,
an
outstanding scene in that show.
Crazy. I had to learn Arabic for that role because
Really?
I don't speak Arabic.
Yeah,
it's not even my language, my people's language.
Yeah,
it's
of course,
a different language. But I literally practiced with a Syrian dialect coach to learn my lines.
Really?
Yeah, for like weeks. Yeah, and then
then you got killed very fast.
Yeah, it's like quickly went away. I was like, what the hell was all this training for? Yeah.
Out here, is that what people know you from, or
No.
do people come out for your shows, or they know you from Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah.
How have people found you?
Oh yeah, it's purely off social media.
Yeah.
It's not about any acting I've done.
Yeah.
Not yet. I mean, I'm sure, in the future, near future, I'm working on my own TV show and movies that I'm trying to produce, and eventually I know I'll be casted into some big movies one day. I just know it. I feel it. I've always wanted to work with Seth Rogen and like the whole Adam Sandler crew. Paul Rudd, like all these people that I think are hilarious on screen. And John C. Reilly.
Yeah,
so funny.
So funny.
All these guys, like I've always wanted to be in comedy movies, and I think I'd fit right in. And SNL, like all these things, like, so it's bound to happen. I feel like after that, when that starts to happen, then I'll get a lot of people coming to my shows based off that as well.
Well, please come back here. Also,
yeah,
the bigger that you get, please come back again.
I'll never forget.
Never forget.
No, never.
If by some rare miracle the Toronto Blue Jays end up playing the Chicago Cubs in the World Series in 6 weeks' time, I think you and I need to get together in either Chicago or Toronto and get tickets for one of those games and 100%. Go see that together.
100%. That would be a legendary matchup.
And then if we're doing that typical city bet, between Toronto and Chicago, let's say, what are you putting on the line? What's a Toronto thing that you're betting against? In my case, probably, well, you don't drink very much, so I can't give you Malort, which tastes like absinthe mixed with like paint thinner. Deep dish pizza, gluten-free. I don't know. I'll have to try to find it if that exists. What are you giving me from Toronto?
Honestly, the best Indian food, the best Chinese food, the best Korean food, the best Italian food, the best Persian food, anything you want, baby, because we got the best food in this country, in the world.
All right. Then I'm bringing you Dutch stroopwafel cookies.
Perfect.
And Italian beef from Chicago.
All right.
And that's what we've got on the line.
I love it.
All right. See you at the World Series.
See you, baby.
All right. Neema
Let's go, Blue Jays. Woohoo! Go, Jays, go. Go, Jays, go.
No, don't.
Go, Jays, go.
Don't listen to him.
Go, Jays, go. Right, Marcus, the German guy?
Neema, thank you. That's great. Thank you so much. People can find you on Instagram. It's at Neema Naz.
Yeah.
On Instagram, what's your TikTok?
Same thing. Everywhere. It's Neema Naz.
Okay. So
my OnlyFans is actually Neema Naz Feet.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say, as a follower of Neema Naz Feet for a number of years, I just want to thank you for all of the astonishingly good content. It's the stories, not the feet videos.
100%.
That
It's
subscribe
the
for.
passion and the the vulnerability and the raw feet that gets you.
It really comes through in the
It does.
in the pedicures.
I know
where I see
all
it.
the nail filing, the moisturizer.
I love it.
What more do you need?
Okay, before this takes a weird turn, I'm going to cut it off there. Neema Naz, you're also performing. You're going from here to Berlin, and then, if memory serves, it's Denver, Detroit, Washington, D.C., Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, and then a few Dallas and Atlanta, I think.
A bunch of everywhere in the States. Yeah.
So follow you on social media to find out more about that. Thank you again, for spending the time with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great. I really appreciate it.
It's awesome. Yeah. Dam Yankee is produced in partnership with NL Times, the top choice for English language news from the Netherlands. Founded nearly 15 years ago, NL Times is now the #1 site for information about this country, featuring more news stories every day of the week than any other website. Keep tabs on the latest top stories, features, and breaking news from across the entire country, including the 3 big cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague. So visit nltimes.nl now and find out what millions of people are reading about the Netherlands. Dam Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show is created by me and Peach Rizzo, and Marcus Engel edited this episode.